Building Committee meeting, roll call, please.
Alderman Art Woods.
Here. Here.
Alderman Currielli.
Here.
Alderman Carr.
Here.
Alderwoman Fonseca.
Here.
Alderman Fasano.
Here.
Alderwoman Ames.
Here.
Alderman Artie Woods.
Here.
Alderman Catalano. Absent.
We have a quorum.
We do.
Thank you. Wasn't a question.
Oh, I thought it was a question.
Okay, sorry. I'll make a motion to approve the January 8th, 2026 Planning, Zoning, and Building Committee minutes.
Second.
Second, any questions, comments, corrections? There being none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes. We have one item tonight, special use for government buildings and facilities at 107 North Wooddale Road. Director Springer, do you have something to show us?
I do. Thank you, Chairman Currielli. This is a request from the Wooddale Park District, and it looks like the battery might be, oh, no, we're good. And it's for the property that is formerly known as the Calvary Church. It is on the west side of Wooddale Road at the northeast corner of Montrose and Wooddale Road, and it's outlined on the screen above. And the property itself is zoned R1, and it's adjacent to, or right across the street from, the Park District's White Oaks facility. And so the Park District purchased this property. I believe it was last year. It might have been even the year before.
Yeah, I was looking back at the records, December
Okay.
2024.
24. And they've intended to start using it as a recreational facility, primarily for seniors. And the existing building works for them. And there's an existing playground on the property. There are about 48 parking spaces. And there is an existing dedicated alley through the property that was never built and obviously isn't necessary. And the total site area is 1 acre. And we don't have any record of having any prior zoning approvals on the site. And the building itself was constructed back in the 1950s. So this is a picture of the existing conditions. It's a 2-story building and existing surface parking lot that gains access from Montrose. And the site right now, if you look at the plat, consists of 6 lots and that unimproved alley right down the middle. As part of the request, the Park District is going to submit a final plat of subdivision to consolidate all the lots and is requesting the alley be vacated. That is a good thing because it cleans up this property and makes the property a single lot under the Park District ownership. And there are easements that are being added to the plat for public utilities that traverse the property. The Community Development Commission held a public hearing and they recommended unanimous approval by a vote of 5-0. Staff does concur with that recommendation. And the Executive Director of the Park District, John Marquardt, is here this evening. He can give you a presentation if you'd like, but he's happy to not as well. It's up to the desire of the committee. And that concludes my report.
Alderperson Ames?
So I have a question, John, this might be for you. What is the time frame for this, if everything gets approved and taking over the building? What is the time frame for opening the center?
Should I state my name?
Yes.
John Marquardt, Wooddale Park District. So, sort of a spoiler alert. We weren't going to let everyone know kind of when the time frame would be, but if everything gets approved, we're looking at a sort of a grand opening in the fall.
Oh, okay. And is there a special name for the center? Or is that spoiler alert?
Spoiler alert, too.
Oh, okay.
We're working on it.
Just curious.
I mean, for me, I think Calvary Center flows off the tongue, so I would probably recommend that. So we're still discussing it. When it gets referenced, it's the Calvary Center. I think that it sort of still respects the name of the church And that's what I told Pastor Haller, that we would do our best in keeping the integrity of the church. So I think keeping Calvary as a part of the name somehow would honor that. So,
Okay, thank you.
Alderperson Woods?
I'll make a motion to approve the, what was this?
Special use for government buildings.
As presented.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Art Woods.
Yes.
Alderman Currielli.
Yes.
Alderman Carr.
Yes.
Alderwoman Fonseca.
Yes, just don't get rid of the park.
Alderman Fasano.
yes.
Alderwoman Ames.
Yes.
Alderman Artie Woods.
Yes.
That passes. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Markwart.
There's a good story behind it, I'll tell you after.
I have a story behind it, too.
Items to be considered at future meetings, UDO text amendment, March 2026, or March 26th, sorry. Master fee schedule, March 26th. Community Park Phase 1, March 26th. Wooddale Commercial PSA, March 26th. Any other items? No further additions. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned.
All right, I'd like to call to order the Public Works Committee meeting. Let the minute taker note that the same staff and elected officials are present. I'll start by making a motion to approve the meeting minutes of December 11th, 2025.
Second?
Any comments, questions, corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Only one item tonight, report and recommendation, appropriation of funding for Middle Drive resurfacing project. I'll make that motion.
Second?
Director Lang.
Thank you, Chairman. So this is an STP-funded project. That's the Surface Transportation Program. It's federal funds administered by IDOT, given to us through the DuPage Mayors and Managers Conference. The scope was originally going to be Middle Drive resurfacing between Wooddale Road and Devon Avenue, but we got word from ComEd that they will be installing some ducts to feed the new substation and data centers over on Bryn Mawr and 83. So their work will take place between about 390 and Wooddale Road, and part of that work will be resurfacing the street curb to curb. So we reapplied for the northern portion of that through the STP program, and we're still awarded the funds. So this work will take place beginning in spring here.
Any questions on this one? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Alderman Art Woods.
Yes.
Alderman Currielli.
Yes.
Alderman Carr.
Yes.
Alderwoman Fonseca.
Yes.
Alderman Fasano.
Yes.
Alderwoman Ames.
Yes.
Alderman Artie Woods.
Yes, and that passes. Items to be considered at future meetings, Ward 1 drainage improvements in March and April. Irving Park Road Central traffic signal, March, April. Elizabeth Drive Bridge and land acquisition, spring or summer. Does anyone have anything they'd like to add? Seeing none, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We're adjourned.
I'd like to call to order the Finance and Administration Committee meeting. Let the minute taker please note the same members are present. I'd like to make a motion to approve the January 22nd, 2026 Finance and Administration Committee meeting minutes.
Second.
Does anyone have any questions, comments, corrections? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And that passes. I have one report and recommendation this evening, the water meter replacement strategy. Director Wilson, I believe you have a presentation on that.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. We're back from about a month and a half ago, where the committee directed staff to get some numbers on a few different cost proposals from Verigy for the meter replacement program. So I'm going to go through these slides, kind of walk through that information, and then be happy to answer any questions at the end. Yeah.
Thank you, and I know you prepared a lot in our packet, so we'll go through the presentation if there's any questions. I feel like you've got a lot of information in here, and if there's any questions at the end that you haven't answered, then we can go from there.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Thank you. Please proceed.
Sure. So this is a recap from the last presentation, just kind of where we're at. We have roughly 5,000 meters in our active meter stock. 4,000 are at or past their useful life, becoming unreadable at an increasing rate, faster than we can replace them, and an in-house replacement of all 5,000 would be about 13 years. Again, this is a recap from last time. Hitting on why we need this project. There's a few different reasons. So quality of service to our customers, the customers being the businesses and the homeowners of Wooddale. So right now there's a high level and a continuing increasing level of frustration from the customers due to these meter failures. So there's a building lack of trust in the billing system. People are not understanding why this is happening and why they're getting these bigger bills, why they're not getting the proper bills. So again, there's a building lack of trust. These people that can't get their meters changed out for a couple of months are getting larger back bills that they weren't prepared for. They're still getting billed the fixed fees, but then they're having all of the water billed back at the time that meter gets changed out, which is creating a bit of a hardship for some people. The current scheduling load is making it difficult for other basic appointments and tasks. So we're having to squeeze in high usage appointments, final meter readings, which is leading to increased staff overtime. I don't know, Mr. Lang, if you have any comments on that.
Yeah, I mean, the schedule for our meter technician right now is completely full, prioritizing change outs. So we get calls daily pretty much from the finance department, people wanting to schedule, high usage appointments or final meter reads, and we're having to fit those in either on the meter technician's lunchtime or after hours in some cases. So it's leading to a high level of burnout and stress, obviously, for both staff and residents as this increases.
Thank you. Also, another benefit to getting this project done and having all the meters on one platform would be that we could launch that Ion Water portal, which would allow the residents to log in and have access to their meter readings, even on a daily basis. They could set up their alerts, things of that nature through that portal. So it would give more ownership of the billing process and their water consumption to the residents. So that's something that we would be able to launch once it's all done, but it doesn't make much sense to do so before that time. Operational efficiency, sustainability, kind of what we hit on there. All meters on one system, so we would eliminate older technology. More reliable, consistent, and efficient meter readings. The readings would be accessed remotely, so it would eliminate the need for the drive-by reads. So right now, it takes the meter technician a couple days to drive around town and get all the readings. Under the new AMI system, I don't want to undersell it, but they'll pretty much just be able to hit a button and get all the readings for the entire town within a few seconds. Adding in the leak detection, so it'll be daily leak identification from the leak detection system. Right now, as you saw in the memo, we have half the town studied once every year, so every other year one side gets studied, and that's pretty much it unless a break occurs. So there's that one point in time leak detection where this would allow for daily leak identification and notifications to the public works staff, which leads to system pressure and reliability issues. And then, as Mr. Lang said, a reduction in staff stress, fatigue, and burnout, which right now over the past few months is very, very real among staff, both in the finance department and in the utilities department over in public works. Also, financial sustainability, because currently we're not billing for all the water that's being used, which is lost revenue. Through the leaks, there's unnecessary water being purchased, so it's an increase in expenses. The current and future water rate stability, the water rates. With the current loss ratio continuing the way it is, rates will need to be increased to account for the additional loss through the system. With proper accountability, I would believe that we'll be able to hold the rate steady. I say the short term, again, we would have to see what that looks like when everything gets installed. Definitely in the short term for the next couple of years, next few years, I could see the rate still being held stable. Bless you. Not in perpetuity, but in the short term. And like I said, if this doesn't all get done, staff at some point would be coming back with a need to increase rates to account for this additional lost revenue and excess expenditures. In the replace all of the non-current meter option, the project is cash flow positive year one. The revenue and lack of reduction in expenditures in year one are greater than the cost to do the project. In the 2,500 meter approach, which is option 2, I believe it's year 7, and then in the 1,000 meters, I think it's out to year 8 or 9 for it to be cash flow positive and self-sustaining. From the previous meeting, there were was the direction to get pricing options on all non-current meters. So at the time, all the non-current meters was 4,867. To be fair, that number is a little bit lower now due to the replacements that Public Works has been performing, but at the time, that was the data set that we had. Also replaced the 25 oldest meters. We would replace the rest in-house, replace the 1,000 oldest meters, and have staff replace the rest in-house. Staff was directed to also get pricing on a leak detection system, and then also break out the costs for the meters and leak detection that was applicable to the TIF district. Some baseline information is kind of my disclaimer page here. Meter information, again, was based on what we gave to Verigy at the time that we pulled the data and gave it to them. So again, as we've been replacing meters, those numbers are going to be a little bit lower on the Verigy project. We would refresh that, obviously, before we actually started with them. All scenarios use the same expense and revenue assumptions. The debt structure presented is 15-year level debt. All the numbers that are in this deck and were in the memo were prepared for by Verigy. The meter stock, like I said, was from the reports that we got from our accounting system. The debt was prepared by Spear Financial, who's our municipal advisor for our bond issuances. And the water savings, again, I did my own estimates and Verigy did their estimates, and they were very close to each other, so we feel confident that those are sound numbers. Should note, caveat emptor, that they are all based upon professional estimates and are subject to change once things actually get installed and get working. So these are, again, everybody's best professional estimate based upon the information that we have at this time. And then this is the financial information, so the revenue and the expenses for this are for the water and sewer fund. Does not directly impact the general fund, the capital improvement fund, the tourism fund, anything like that. This is all just within the water and sewer fund. All right, so option 1, so replace all non-current meters. Again, the quoted amount, $4,867. Again, it will be less due to the city installations from the time we pull this data. The project, going with option 1 would allow for the project to be done until the meters need to be replaced, again, which is at the end of this 20-year life cycle of the meters. It has the maximum revenue capture pickup. It's best for the operational efficiency and the best option for the customers as well, because again, the project is done. Option 2, replace the 25 oldest meters. The quoted price would be the same. I guess in theory, if one of the meters they replaced was maybe a bigger meter versus a smaller meter in that 2,500, in theory it could change a little bit, but predominantly it would be the same price from Verigy. It would require the city to complete the remaining approximately 2,367 meters, which would take approximately 8 more years of basically what we're going through right now with this, with the replacement program. It would have incremental revenue capture, so it wouldn't fully recapture all of the revenue loss in theory until all of the meters were replaced at the end of the 8 years.
Mayor, please.
Brad, quick question.
Yeah.
So this option 2, a little while ago you said if you went with option 2, you wouldn't be cash positive for 7 years, I think you said? Is that, did I hear that right? I just want to make sure I'm
That's
clear.
correct.
Okay.
Please proceed.
Yeah, so again, it's not the most operationally efficient from a personnel and technology standpoint, as iterated on the previous slides. And the remaining meters would be subject to failure, putting us in the exact same position that we're in right now with meters failing that we would have to try to get ahead of and replace. So again, it would solve part of the problem, but not the entire problem. Effectively just kind of kicking the can down the road for a few years and kind of leaving us in the same spot we're in right now. Option 3, place the 1,000 oldest meters. Again, same scenario, and this would take Public Works approximately 11 years to finish replacement. Less incremental revenue, worse operationally and technology, and again, same thing, going to be right back in the spot we're in right now with these meters failing, because the age of the meters that we wouldn't replace by the time we get to them in 11 years, are going to be well past their expiration date. So again, literally going to be right back in the exact same spot. Leak detection system, currently the city does not have one. I mean, I guess technically the leak detection, right, is if something pops on the SCADA system or on the system, or somebody sees something driving by. Do you want to go through that?
For a leak, we wouldn't know unless it surfaces. For a water main break, it tends to surface, there's a lot more pressure, but for a leak, there's really no way, even through SCADA, that we can tell. So if we do a survey, a leak detection survey through our contractor, and something starts leaking the next day, we won't know about it for another year until we do another survey.
So again, this would help in finding the unidentified leaks kind of immediately, I would think. Pretty much, yeah.
It runs for it listens 24 hours, and if 2 or more anodes are hearing the same sound in the same vicinity, it triangulates that to locate it within, I believe they said 3 feet. And then we have our own listening devices that we can help correlate that to be sure before we start digging.
So to reduce the reliance on outside companies for leak detection services, reduce the money that we're spending on water purchases through the DuPage Water Commission due to these unidentified leaks, and then again provide for more reliable system pressure, less wear and tear on the pumps, other equipments, the water mains, etc. All right, so going through some of the cost information, and these next few slides are designed to be cumulatively, so I guess I'll say bear with me for a couple slides as I get through these. So one thing that we wanted to point out, it was stated in the memo, however, the total cost in that fourth column there, the 3.9, the 2.2, the $970,000, it's broken down, it's not all Verigy cost. So you can see in each example, except for the last one, but in the first 2 examples, the meter cost is actually more than the Verigy cost. So, let's just say, we're going to do it ourselves in-house. Well, we're still going to have that meter cost, and we're actually going to likely pay well more than that, because we're getting a fairly massive discount by buying, 4,000 meters at once than we would get if we're just buying them, 100 at a time or whatever, through Mr. Lang and his team. So going through the costs, like I said, they replace all the non-current, just under 3.9. There's about 417,000 in TIF eligible costs in there within that 3.4. Again, the option 2, the 2,500, about 2.26 million. And the TIF cost 1.9 net cost, and then the 1,000 meters about 918,000. The next box down there is the estimated cost for the total debt service over the 15 years. Which is 4.8, 2.6, 1.2. Going on to the next page.
Brad, sorry, Mayor, please.
When you say total debt, you're adding the leak detection in there, right? Am I looking at that right? You said 4.8 total debt.
Yeah.
Yes,
Director
no?
Wilson?
No, not at this point. That's with the principal and interest paying over time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's the
Principal and interest. Okay, gotcha.
total debt payments, correct, yeah.
Thank you. Please continue.
So going to the next page, what other costs would be in each option? So in option 1, in theory, no additional costs, no more time to finish the project will be done. Option 2, we have to buy meters to finish the project over approximately the next 8 years. Option 3, same thing. So if we go down to the bottom table there's the project cost, again, the total debt number, total debt payments with the principal and interest. Then you layer in the meter costs to get to a total cost. So we're taking the debt service from the second column, adding in the meter costs, getting to the 4.8, the 4 million, the 3 million. Okay. Go to the next slide. Estimated revenue capture. So in the scenario 1, where we replace all of the non-current meters, we're estimating the full pickup within the first year of replacing all those meters. Option 2, 2,500 meters, we estimated it to be about half of the revenue. Just looking at the meter stock, figuring those might be the worst meters, the older ones, so we allocated half to that. And number 3, again, that's a little less than 25%, again, based upon the number of meters installed. So when you extrapolate that out over the 15 years, you can see the estimated revenue from each of those three options in that top table.
Okay, Alderman Currielli,
Yeah, how good are those estimates?
Director Wilson.
That's an interesting question.
Is it based on anything, or just that we think it's
Okay, sure.
20% loss of
Okay,
efficiency,
yes,
or
okay.
we have hard data that says?
Okay. Okay, understand, yeah. So when we were working through this in the fall, getting ready and talking with Verigy, we had estimated the loss due to meters at about 5%. And so based upon our revenue model, that my calculation was around 400,000 for the loss due to meters. When we sent that information to Verigy, they looked through all the meters, the meter ages, the meter sizes, the meter data. They came back at a first-year revenue collection of 414,000. So my estimate was 400. Theirs through the software that they use was about 414,000. So between my number and their number, like I said, based upon the fact that it was fairly close and we did them independent of each other, I didn't tell them what my number was. That's where that 400,000 comes from in that first year, based upon my number, and then Verigy's professional estimate based upon our meter age, meter size, and things of that nature.
That's just based on meter age, not on any actual measurements. Is that correct?
Director Wilson.
Yeah, so what they're basing that on is they're saying that meters of a certain age, and they also had the usage as well. Maybe Mr. Lang can talk to us a little bit better, but the meters, the current meter stock has like a paddle or something that spins around.
It's called a nutating disc, that tends to degrade over time.
Yeah.
And there's a formula that the AWWA provides that establishes that assumed degradation over time. And all of this is verified through our LMO2, our annual water audit that we do every year. So that's where we get like the 17% water loss number. We know that we compare total water that we purchase from DWC versus total water that we bill, and we identify where that additional loss is coming from.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, my 5% was based upon that LMO2 number, and then their calculation was based again on that age factor and the degradation factor that Mr. Lang was talking about. So.
Thank you.
So.
Okay. Alderman Artwood, do you have a question?
Yeah, there's a lot of numbers here. A lot of data that we don't see, so I'm not saying the numbers aren't good, but I'm listening to a guy that's trying to sell me something. That's not you, the other Verigy guy. Although, second might be true too. But have we had or could we get an independent third party to look at it and do an assessment? I mean, we're making a lot of assumptions to get to these numbers. And so I guess my questions would be, what if 400,000 is only 287,000? What do things look like?
Director Lang.
The water loss is not an assumption. It's based on data that we analyze every year. And we know we lose 17% of the water that comes into our system. And that is either through metering inaccuracies or real losses in the system. There's other uses that are a much smaller portion of that, like hydrant flushing and things like that, but those are the two main components of all the water that we lose in our system. And that's been a trend the last, since I've been here, is that we're right around that 17% number.
With the HBK.
Follow-up.
Yeah, we do a certain amount of bench testing each year on our meters, and we are seeing some of the larger meters especially that are reading 83, 87%. The 3/4 and 1 inch meters tend to be a little more accurate, but they're still in the 90s. But even just 5%, on thousands of gallons each year adds up.
Right. And so I get that you can quantify in and out, but we're basing all the financial analysis on all these other pieces, and we don't know how accurate those pieces are. And inherently, you're telling me the pumps or meters have slop built into them anyway. So again, if those numbers aren't correct, not the 17 number, I'll agree that that's simple to find out. If you bought 1,000 gallons and you only billed 500, you lost 500, right? But all the other pieces, the pipes, water main breaks, losses were, and let me stop 1 second. So back to, I can't remember if it was the mayor or, I think it was the mayor that asked, is the sensor system in the total 4 million whatever? Is it in the package? Because that seems to be a bigger piece too, right? And so it's, when you look at these numbers, I'm interested in how much is that one saving versus how much are the other ones savings, and what part of the $4 million. I mean, this is a big infrastructure project, if you will, and what does that do in affecting the balance of the water fund?
Director Wilson?
So it's multiple.
Yeah. I guess I'll answer the easiest one first. The leak detection is not in these numbers yet. I think a couple slides that starts to layer in. And I guess the one thing that, and this is going to sound weird coming from me, the finance director, is as much as this financial data is important, again, the fact that these meters are dying, people aren't getting billed, his staff's getting burned out, my staff's getting burned out. I mean, we can't put a number on that. And so as much as this is a financial play that we certainly need to dial these numbers in as best as we can, it's also customer service to the entire community. And then I don't want that to get lost because, you know, the revenue pickup number might not be exactly correct. I just want to get that out there, that this is as much a customer service play and a technology play as a financial play. And I think I've kind of done some back of the napkin numbers. Okay, if 10% of it is real leaks through leak detection, that's about 200,000. If it's 5% in the meters, that's about 400,000. What if we flip those numbers? What if it's, you know, only 5% over here and 10% over here? And I think in the few different examples I've ran, even if more of it is leak and less of it's meters, it still works out, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Now, I didn't prepare a specifically rigid slide for that, but again, we know there's 17%, and over the past 5 years or so, since we didn't do a lot of the meter replacements, that's when we started to see that number go from, you know, 12, 13% up to the 17, 18%. So that's why we are attributing a large portion of that to the metering, since that was something that prior to the last couple of years, there wasn't a lot of meter replacements being done. And so that's why we're attributing a lot of that to that cost.
Mayor Police?
Wait, I think,
Well, and Artie has a question.
well, he has a follow-up.
Oh, follow-up?
Follow-up. So one quick question, I think you can answer quickly. So what's the general rule? I think you guys said this before, I don't remember what the loss ratio is in a well-running system. So we're never getting to 100% is my understanding,
Yeah.
right? So it's never getting to 100%. Is the standard leak loss, whatever we call it, 5%? Is it 3%? If we're running at 100%, they put in these meters and they're working well. So again, I'm not trying to eliminate the project. I'm trying to understand spending $4 million. It's a lot of money. So we can say we got to spend it anyway. So because people are working harder, and I'm not discounting that, and people are getting frustrated and burned out. I'm not discounting that, but I'm the guy that has to say spending $4,200,000, $4,500,000 is the most prudent thing to do, and just trying to understand how all those pieces work and how they affect, again, long-term the water fund. Is there effect? Is there not effect? So if we could just determine what the minimal, what the consistent leak loss rate is.
Director Lang?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think it's something we've all heard before, but the IDNR wants you under 10%. And if you're not under 10% water loss, you have to submit a water improvement plan with the steps that you're going to take to get under 10%. You know, responding timely to water main breaks, replacing water mains, performing leak detection surveys. And, you know, we've heard success stories from other communities that they went from 18 to 8, that they went from 12 to 2. You know, everyone we've spoken to has gone through a program like this has just really raved about the successes of it.
Follow-up?
So we have to take a number, so would it be fair to say 7? We're never going to get really, generally speaking, better than 7. now it could be 5, but if you're telling me one's at 10, 10's what the association wants us to be at, and the best story you ever heard was 2, some people tell you 6 and 8, 7 would be a fair number, at least for me, that I could use to go. We're talking about saving 10%, so I'm wondering, is the number based on that 10%, that all these numbers that we're seeing or talking about, or is it based on 17%?
Director Lang?
Do you want to respond to that? I mean, it's what you're basing the.
Yeah. So the meter assumption is 5%.
Okay.
The meter assumption is 5%. The best case.
But I don't want to cut you off, but I kind of have to. So how did we determine that the meter is 5? So the total 17, right? 10's what we're targeting, 5 is the meter, and 5 is leaks in the street, right? We have to allocate loss numbers to these things to be able to get to these numbers, I guess is where I'm going.
Director Wilson?
Yeah. So again, we associated or allocated 5% to the meters. And again, that's based on the trend that we've seen, I guess, pre-2 years ago, when there wasn't really a lot of meter replacements going on. I think at that time, they were just changing the heads in Ward 3, I think. So they weren't changing the brass. And so we saw that. So when we built the rate model, 7, 8 years ago, we were around 88%. And again, when there wasn't a real active push to replace meters, that's when we saw that go down to 87%, 86%, 85%. So I say logically, but presumptively, since we weren't replacing meters and the accountability got worse, well, if nothing else has changed in the system except the meters got older, it seemed logical that that's where that loss should be attributed to. And even when we went back probably 10 years or so, at the highest point, we were at about 91%. That was after they had changed out some older mains, things like that. We picked up 2 or 3%, with the meter stock being the same. So at that point, when we looked at it, we said, okay, well, if the meter stock was steady and we replaced mains and the number went up, then that capture should be attributed to water mains and lack of leaks. So that's kind of the logic behind where these values were assigned to.
Director Lang,
Thank you.
did you have a follow-up?
Yeah, just worth mentioning again, I know we touched on it the last meeting, but we know that the majority of our water is lost through real losses, through leaks and breaks, and the smaller component is the meters, but the meters have the higher revenue impact because those are billed at a higher rate to residents than what we pay for the DuPage Water Commission. So we can't say for certain what percentage of it is meters, what percent of it is leaks and breaks, unless we have a large enough sample size of bench tests done on actual meters. So until that time, it's assumptions based on the best information that we have.
Now that you said that, aren't they going to do that? Are they going to take a sampling of it?
That was part of the investment grade audit that was presented back in 2023.
Okay.
They are going to do site visits to get an idea of
That's what I was-
the average scope of work that it's going to take to replace all these, but they're not, as far as I understand, going to be bench testing
And
the
one
meters.
last question for me. I almost promise. In the contract, is there any guarantee that we meet these numbers, or any language that's, holds them responsible for, right? Because they're part of the equation saying this is what we're going to do, and this is going to get you to some point. I'm assuming there's got to be a benchmark.
Director Wilson?
Yeah, I will have to look at that. And I only say that because there's a couple of different ways we can model the agreement with them. So if that's something that we'd be interested in, then that's something we can look to make sure is in there.
Okay. Thank you.
Mayor, please.
Yeah, so you said 5%, so we're losing 17. Change the meters, we get 5%, it's 400,000. And if I'm looking at this right, it's another $1 million for all the leak detection stuff, plus principal and interest. And that's only 200,000. So I know we do hydrant flushing and water main breaks. Why wouldn't, because 200,000, then it's basically telling me, what's 2.5% that we're getting on leak detection? Or are we just kind of being conservative on the number? Because I'm thinking, if we get down to the 7%, they just said that's 5 and 5, that's 800,000 a year. Right now, you guys are saying 600,000. I'm just curious. I'm trying to add up the numbers. And 5%, you told me in the meters. All right, brings us down to 12. We want to get down to 7 or 8, under 10. 2.5, you guys are figuring 2.5, like we're going to get under that 10%, whatever, so we meet the standards. Where did the 200,000 come? I'm just curious how you guys did these numbers, because I would anticipate might be more if we're trying to get to this, because we'll see where the leaks are. I just said we replaced some water mains. We might get, I'm just curious. How do we get there?
Director Wilson?
Yeah, so we assumed, again, the 17%, 5%, kind of to Alderman Woods' point, is if I say 10%, so I guess we did say 10%, but it was 10% of the water we're buying from the DuPage Water Commission, not necessarily 10% of the unbilled or whatnot. So looking at our bills from the DuPage Water Commission, that's about 10% of the bills to the DuPage Water Commission for that.
Which is at a much lower rate than we eventually bill it to the customers.
Follow up?
Right, but we're losing 17%, which you guys, you see it, right? These many gallons come in, this many gallons we're billing for. Saving, if we're going to get the 5% back from the meters, the way I see it, I think it was 200,000. They're talking about only getting 2.5 from the leaks. That's,
I don't know where we're getting the 2.5 from.
Yeah.
well, I'm going 5% is 400,000, so another 200,000 is half of 5%.
It's not the same rate. It's-
Director Wilson?
Yeah, I would say the 5% of the metering is at $21 per thousand, and the water loss is at a little over $5 per thousand. So even though it's a larger percentage, it's at a quarter or 30% of the rate, of the rate. So that's why there's that disparity, the
'Cause we're
mismatch
not
there.
selling it, we're not.
If we were going by gallons, that assumption would be
Okay.
accurate, yeah. With the rate being different, it's not.
I got you.
Yeah, and Alderman Woods' point, we're not getting to zero, so that's why we left some play in there.
Alderman Artie Woods?
Yeah, a couple of questions, thank you. As someone who in a former life sold technology to government agencies, the first thing that stood out to me is there's no one here from the vendor tonight. Is there a reason Verigy chose not to be here? Did we ask them to be here to answer questions, or?
We did not.
Director Wilson?
Okay, so they were, just curious, on $5 million, if I was selling this kind of job, I would be here to.
Director Wilson?
I was gonna say, we just, among staff, we
That's
discussed
fine.
and.
I'm just making sure we didn't ask and they turned us down, or what?
No,
Seems-
no,
okay.
it was staff decision to not have them come.
That's fine, just seemed a little strange. So I guess the obvious question to me is if this is going to be break even or cash flow positive within a year, why take a 15-year loan? Why take 15 years to pay it off?
So each year in a vacuum, and let me see if I have that on another slide. Okay. So each year in a vacuum, let's just take what we have on the slide here. You know, the total debt service is about 4.8 million. We're estimating, again, all things being equal and coming out aces, the revenue is about 6 million over that 15 years. So the debt service is just going to be straight lined over 15, the revenue straight lined over 15. So in year one, the revenue pickup would be more than the debt service. In the other two scenarios, because we would have to buy meters for the next 9 to 10 years, That's why it takes longer for those to cumulatively get to a cash flow positive position. So when I say cash, I just mean each year in a vacuum.
So the project's not paying for itself year one, it's just covering the principal and interest and then some?
Correct, yeah, it's, each year in scenario one is self-sufficient, but it's not generating, the $4.8 million the first year. But
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah,
I
but it's
understand how that'd be
generating,
possible. So.
it's, as constructed, it's generating enough revenue to cover the debt service for itself. So it would be producing an extra $60,000 to $100,000 a year in free and clear revenue versus the other options that would be taking time to get to where they're free and clear.
So just in my opinion, I'm sure we're all going to give our opinions and obviously vote, but I know this project needs to be done. I'm not arguing whether we should replace all the meters. It's just the optics of all the loans we have, the budget talks we're going to have, and then going another $5 million into debt isn't a great look to me. I'm not saying it doesn't need to be done, but how do we justify, is there any other way around it to build it in the budget? I know we're going to talk about budgets for the next year or two, and I know we don't want to delay anymore and we don't want to burn out staff. Is there any other, aside from option A, B, and C that we looked at, is there any option financially to put this off any longer?
Director Wilson?
Personal opinion, I'll let Mr. Lang give his opinion. No.
Okay.
I'm in agreement, no.
And then last question, I'll let everyone else talk, but so the staff, was it 1 or 2 staff who are doing the meters full-time currently?
We have 1 meter technician and 1 utility billing crew leader. Those are the only 2 staff that we have just solely dedicated to the utility billing department. We assist with, we have other administrative staff who assist with scheduling and sending out notification and things like that, and we'll give the meter tech another guy whenever we can, but there's only 1 dedicated meter technician at this time.
So my only other thought was, if this is all done within 12 months, if this gets approved tonight or at council, what do these staff, I'm sure there's no shortage of projects for them to work on, but what do they move on to? Or that doesn't, we're not eliminating positions by doing this, right?
Correct, yeah, there's always going to be meter appointments. There's the final meter reads, the high usage appointments. He can assist more with field work, water main breaks and things like that, hydrant flushing. And, with this new leak detection component, there's going to be some added monitoring that we're going to need to cover, so he can lend a hand with that too.
Oh, I promise, last question. I'm taking after my father down there, but no, one last one that just popped right. So before my time, we had the laundromat that moved into town, or the commercial laundry with the super user. I remember watching those meetings before I was on the council, and they guaranteed a certain amount. Wasn't there something, I know this is a whole different thing, but it has to do with water. They didn't actually use what they thought they were going to use because of high efficiency machines. Is there any, to go back to kind of what my father was asking about, is there a situation where they're guaranteeing there's going to be a certain amount of savings that there's not, and who could we hold accountable along those lines, I guess?
Director Wilson?
Yeah, again, we'd have to look at the structure of the contract, because they have a couple of different contract models. So if there is a desire to have a PG put into that contract, or a PG component, a performance guarantee component of it, we could certainly talk to them about that.
It's probably hard to hold them accountable if their numbers are similar to our, it sounds like they're pretty close to what our numbers were from your independent audits too, so.
That'd be correct, yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Alderwoman Fonseca?
Thank you. For options 2 and option 3, have you built in the cost of maintaining multiple systems across the life cycle of those projects for completion in those estimates?
Director Wilson?
Not into these numbers, no.
Follow-up?
So there would be additional cost and less total revenue then, when all is said and done.
Director Wilson or Director Lang?
Yeah, I would agree with that. And definitely less revenue because you're replacing them, at a slower rate. You're not recouping that water loss as quickly. And then, there would be some added costs of having to, split it like that and still do our own meters. That route, there'd be the purchase of the meters, so higher expenses annually.
Yeah.
Director Wilson?
Yeah, it's the same reading software, it's still Beacon, but how we're getting these. So the extra expenses would be in the mobile reading device, the laptop, things of that nature. So yeah, I wouldn't say it would be a significant change, but there would certainly be additional costs to that. from the vehicle standpoint and the IT standpoint, yeah.
Follow-up?
Would there be additional personnel that would be needed to go to people's homes? Because with the new system that you're talking about or suggesting, it would all be automated, and it would be automated retrieval of that data, whereas right now you have to do drive-bys with physical people, right? So there would be potential impact on that. That cost would continue with options 2 and 3 for the meters that are still there, right?
Correct.
Okay. Thanks.
Alderman Artwood?
Yeah, one of my earlier questions, I don't think we got to, and that was which was a bigger question. The net effect on the water fund, positive or negative, especially if these numbers don't work out exactly as we have them. Right now, they all look nice, but those numbers might not come, the curve might not come in that way, right? Not saying we're not going to reduce it, I'm just saying that we're making a lot of assumptions, and as straight line using basic assumptions, these are the hard block numbers we got to, but we haven't really vetted them out and looked at it as a curve. So is there a possibility that would have a short-term negative effect? Long-term, it's going to be a positive effect, I get it, but have we looked at that at all?
Director Wilson?
Sure. So I think with any project where there's unknowns, there's always that risk. I think that's factually correct. I think, well, let me rephrase that. I know right now we're losing between $400,000 and $600,000 a year due to meter inaccuracies and water loss. So that's the cost of doing nothing, is that $400,000 to $600,000 that would result in the need to increase the water rates. So to your point, even if these numbers don't come in, again, 100%, that minus $400,000 to $600,000, let's just call it $500,000 just for easy conversation, that minus $500,000 that we're losing and or spending that we shouldn't have to, that number's gonna, if not completely go away based upon all these assumptions, it's gonna get a whole lot closer to zero. So I would be shocked if between the metering and the leak detection system, that it still wasn't self-sufficient. Again, losing $500,000 a year right now doing nothing, it's not gonna get worse by fixing the infrastructure.
Follow-up?
Thank you. So I'm not suggesting it'll get worse.
Fair.
But this is where I don't have all the numbers or the time to put it on a spreadsheet, but I have to listen to what we're talking about and make that decision. So the $400,000 to $600,000 that we're losing is, going back to percentages, that's 17%. But we're only going to save, we'll call it 10%, which makes 400 be reduced. And anyway, I guess I just want us to be cognizant of the fact that that isn't like free net revenue that we're generating through there, and the first couple of years might not be as clean as we would like them to be. And that since we're moving into the budget cycle, we need to be really cognizant of that.
Director Wilson?
Yeah, I know we've been on this slide for a while. I can get through the next 1 or 2 slides, then maybe we can rehash that.
Okay, please proceed.
Sure. Go to the next slide, which is the leak detection slide. Have the estimated cost there, same type of structure, net cost after accounting for the TIF of just under $800,000. And the debt service for that is a little over $1 million over that same 15 years. The expense reduction, so this expense reduction is, again, we're assuming the $200,000 in purchases to the DuPage Water Commission, and then we factored in 15 years at $25,000 of the ATS leak detection that we're paying for right now. So that's how we got to that 3.3 million number in reduced expenses. And again, everything coming up ACES would save the city about 2.3 million in spending over that same 15-year time period. quick note, we were presented a second option for leak detection, but it was probably about, 40% higher. And in Mr. Lang's research and talking to other communities, that was not the one that really anybody had gone with. And so we didn't feel that that was a viable option based on the cost and feedback from other communities. So if we take that, the meter program and the leak detection program, and again, these are based on all the assumptions. Leak detection number is the same in every scenario. So we have the revenue layered in there, the leak detection layered in there, and then the total value, estimated value to the city over the 15-year life of the repayment schedule. So again, you know, we're, based on the estimates, showing that the city could recoup or in revenue and reduction of expenses about 3.4 million under scenario 1, 3.3 in 2, and a little over 3 million in scenario 3. And again, I would note that in scenario 1, again, the project is done by this summer, and then yeah, it's done this summer, where in options 2 and 3, it's going to take many years to complete that out. So that's kind of, I guess, bigger picture from a revenue and a expense reduction standpoint, like you were talking about.
Alderman Art Woods?
Going back to the prior slide, one back of that, I don't know. Anyway, the leak detection, did you say that the debt on that, so the interest on the leak detection is $1,070,000?
Director
Or is
Wilson?
that the project plus debt? So the A number where it says total debt, which I'm assuming is for leak detection only,
Yes.
a single piece,
Mhm.
is $1,070,000?
Yeah, so the net cost of the 791, adding that to that 15-year debt instrument would add about $1 million to that.
So the $1,000,007 is the principal plus interest?
Plus, yeah,
For the-
just
okay.
just for the
Plus-
leak detection.
Together?
Yeah, not in
It's
addition
principal
to.
and interest.
Correct, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So I was like,
Be like a payday lender.
no, I was just going to say, can we restructure something that eliminate the $1 million? But the $1 million isn't $1 million, it's 200 and some odd thousand. Okay, thank you.
Mayor, please.
And Brad, with this 15-year loan, so, you know, we can't foresee everything in the future, but if things, revenues-wise, uptick and whatnot, this is not one that we have to keep open for 15 years, right? This can be prepaid if we can.
Director Wilson?
Yeah, correct. We can put a call provision on this. Typically, on a 15-year, the first call provision will be somewhere between like year 9 and 10. But yeah, that's certainly something we can do for this. That way, again, if things come in the way we want, or we hope, then yeah, we could put a call provision on there to get this paid off early.
Alderman Artie Woods?
I guess to piggyback off that, I'm not super familiar with how that works, but if the call provision's not until year 9 or 10 at the earliest, I know all the additional revenues stay in the water fund, so it's not like we're taking this money and spending it elsewhere. But where would that go? Does that go to pay off other debt, the water treatment plant, or is that just put aside to potentially pay it off in year 9 or 10, or how does that work?
Director Wilson?
Sure. So the bonds for the treatment plant, the ones that were refinanced, those there's not a call provision on, so those we couldn't. The IEPA loan for the treatment plant, there's no prepayment penalty on that, and that one we could prepay and pay that one off sooner. So if we were getting a larger pot of money, if we were flush with cash, we could work on paying down that IEPA loan early, or we could put it off to a side just to make sure we had it at that year 9 or 10 to pay this one off early.
But until you make that decision, or we make that decision, whoever decides that money just sits in the water fund until we put it towards something?
Correct.
And on that same note too, if we were to refinance at a better rate than Verigy's offering, that's an option you'll look at as well, too, correct? Dr. Wilson?
Yeah, to be clear, Verigy did send me a proposal, and we feel that we can do better through our MA on the open market, so we likely would not go with the Verigy proposal.
Okay.
That would be a separate item that would be brought to the council, but yeah.
Okay, thank you. Alderman
I
Artie Woods?
don't think anyone's talked about this yet, but obviously there's going to be some impact to residents who are getting a deal on water because they're not being billed for all of their usage, I'm assuming, so they're not getting a deal. We're just not billing them for what they're using. So how do we handle that? The messaging and obviously there's going to be a lot of messaging involved with having to enter the home and replace the meters. But the second messaging is going to be, I don't know how much the average bill would increase for people who are not paying for what they're using. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Director Wilson?
Sure, yeah, so Verigy has a playbook for public outreach that they follow, multiple rounds of outreach over different platforms. They have a 24-hour call center with staff trained to answer questions like that. The average resident isn't going to notice much on their water bill. Okay. I mean, the 3/4 and 1-inch meters have the lowest amount of degradation. Typically, it's usually the larger meters that experience that, which are more of the industrial users. So
Okay.
they may see a few bucks difference on their water bill, but it shouldn't be a huge shock to them.
So the big increases would be commercial users mostly.
Yeah, it's really just, the aggregate, a little bit here and there over 5,000 accounts. But yeah, the major fluctuations would be on those larger meters, the 2-inch and up.
And then last question for me is, you talked about the potential need to increase water rates if we didn't go with any of these options, right? If we just kept it status quo to be able to catch up from the loss. By doing this, I know you're not making that decision, but you don't see us needing to increase. The water fund's healthy enough to be stable, I guess, for water rates.
Director Wilson?
Yeah, doing this project and presuming the numbers come in reasonably where we expect them to, then it would be healthy enough to not have to increase rates in the short term.
Thank you.
Alderman Art Woods?
I'll make a motion to move forward with option 1.
Second.
Of course, adding the things that we talked about, the performance clause, if we could get something in there to just...
I guess the other part of that too is, do we have to decide on the leak detection as well as a separate item to vote on that? So do you need 2 pieces of direction, Director Wilson?
Yeah, I think if the motion were option 1 for the metering, we could put it in one motion if we wanted to do, because it's both with Verigy. So if the motioner wanted to amend that to include the leak detection, then we would include that in the...
include the leak detection?
We would include that in the...
I was thinking that they were joined, but it
I
is...
just wanted to make sure.
Right, no, good,
Okay.
good call. I forgot it
And-
was...
Alderman Currielli?
Agreed.
Okay, thank you. Roll call?
Oh, just really quick, it seems obvious to me, but this would be kind of pointless to do without the leak detection, right? If we're going to spend this money anyway, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
it's
why
a smaller
not?
component of it.
Just making sure I'm not missing something that,
No, I agree.
It's actually got the greater return, if you ask me, but...
Roll call, please.
Alderman Artie Woods?
yes.
Alderwoman Ames?
Yes.
Alderman Fasano?
Yes.
Alderwoman Fonseca?
Yes.
Alderman Carr?
Yes.
Alderman Currielli?
Yes.
And Alderman Art Woods?
Yes.
And that passes. Thank you so much for your detailed presentation, all of you. I appreciate that. Next, items to be considered at future meetings, fiscal year 27 budget, meeting 1 on February 26th. Next item, fiscal year 27 budget meeting number 2, I guess if needed, on March 12th. City Hall remodel bids on March 12th. Are there any other items? There being none, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.